Thank you everyone for joining us remotely for PhillyPoSH on March 5th. Due to some weather, some snow in the area, we couldn't meet in person. So thanks for those who joined us remotely on link. I'm just going to go through some announcements here real quick and then turn it over to Derek, who has a pretty cool presentation to give us this evening on an intro to Chocolatey. So first up, there's a PowerShell Community virtual user group on Slack. Slack is a web-based, I guess, web app IRC style chat application that has a lot of cool features. You can sign up for a free account there. And what PowerShell MVP Joel Bennett did was he created a automated sign up. So you set up the Slack channel. You can basically put your email in there. It'll send you an automated invite into the PowerShell group on Slack, and then you'll basically be in the chat. So there's a number of rooms here. Basically, you have general announcements. There's a bridge to the PowerShell chat room on Freenode, and I created a room for the user group. So if you're interested and you do sign up, be sure to jump in there. So that's Slack. So there's a new version of Chocolatey out. I thought Derek's going to talk about that. This was just released this week. It's a complete rewrite of Chocolatey. There's a link here to the Chocolatey GitHub project wiki with information on what's new in the latest release. And like I said, Derek's going to touch on that. Last week there was a Microsoft Virtual Academy hosted by Jeffrey Snover and Jason Helmick, which is two full day sessions on getting started with DSC and then an advanced DSC session the following day. Those two sessions usually they're recorded and they're usually made available. Sometimes they're like 3 weeks after the original live event. So if you didn't have a chance to participate last week, keep an eye out for it. In addition, there's some intro to some jump starts getting started with PowerShell 3, some advanced tooling and scripting with PowerShell 3 that both Jason and Jeffrey had done before. Those recorded sessions you can hit up in the links there. I think it was yesterday or the day before, some leaked slides came out on a kind of suspect website, I think. At least I thought initially. But it basically talks, I think there's slides from somebody's presentation, maybe internal to Microsoft, about Nano Server and the next features that are coming up in Server vNext and PowerShell. So you can scroll through and see images of the slides are posted here, but wanted to highlight some of the things that I thought were interesting from that. So Nano Server kind of follows the server core model, and it's basically taking a more aggressive zero footprint. So no binaries, no roles and features are included in the image. It's really small, really light. And then included with that is PowerShell being refactored to run on .NET Core CLR. So the core .NET engine, garbage collector, just-in-time compiler. So this probably means that we'll be able to see, don't know when, but maybe sometime in the future we'll see PowerShell running, in more places than just Windows, maybe running on Linux. And then that light core PowerShell has full support for PowerShell remoting, which is awesome. Again, really recent, just released an updated version of Isteroids. I don't know if anybody has used Isteroids in the user group here. I just started checking it out this past week, and it looks pretty cool. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I really recommend you give it a shot. They also put it on the PS Gallery. So just to be clear, Isteroids is a it's an add-on for the PowerShell ISE. So this is something that you would download. It basically installs as a module on your system, and then when you load it, it enhances the ISE experience with a whole bunch of extra features. And that's available in, I guess, a beta, like a release candidate 2. Right now, you can download a free trial, and then to continue using it, I think on up to 3 machines, there's a paid version of it. But I would really recommend you guys check it out if you haven't yet. It's on the Powershell Gallery, so maybe something that Derek might touch on later. I'm not sure if that's included in his presentation, but with the latest Windows Management Framework 5, you can do a find module for iSteroids. If you already have it installed, you can do an update module on it, basically pull it down from the PowerShell Gallery. And there was posted recently, at the end of last month, a bunch of recordings from the Nordic Infrastructure Conference. There's a lot of cool videos there. One in particular I thought was interesting was a talk given by Ben Armstrong on containers. So this is a Docker technology and how it is going to apply to Windows and what Microsoft is doing in the container space. Found a couple of interesting performance articles on PowerShell performance related articles this week. One by Bo Prox, basically a really awesome detailed analysis that he went through of filtering, basically all the different ways in which you could filter. And he goes even so far as to, so he's measuring the performance of each type of filter that you can perform, and he graphs it out. Just a really fantastic article. A great way to learn about, go deeper into PowerShell, essentially. There's another pretty cool series of articles related to performance, and this is basically like the fastest approach to performing some task. So getting the account of all the users in a domain, counting all files in a large network share, or reading in a text file, and each article takes a look at the approaches and the different ways in which you can go about doing the task, and then breaks it down and shows you what is being, what essentially wins as the fastest method. So do check those out. Those are pretty cool. I want to say a special thanks to ScriptRock. They sponsored our meeting last month, and they have a PhillyPoSH code if you are interested and you do sign up with a paid account. They're giving you 1 month free and up to 50 nodes to manage if you use that offer code for PhillyPoSH. And lastly, this is really huge. PhillyPoSH next meeting is going to be on March 26th, so there's not going to be an April meeting, but we're really excited to announce that Stephen Murawsky and the Scripting Wife will be joining us in person. They're going to be in Malvern for a new kind of event called US MVP Open Days. And that's going to be held the following day, Friday the 27th, and Saturday the 28th. And it's like an all-day session. There's a bunch of speakers, a bunch of MVPs, a bunch of folks from Microsoft giving presentations. One of them will be Stephen Murawsky will be presenting on DSC. He'll be presenting the evening before for our meeting. And Young Chow, who is a technical evangelist for us, will be presenting on Server vNext as well. So if you're in the area, I would say check that out. Be sure to join us March 26th, and again, no April meeting. So with that out of the way, thanks for your patience. Let's turn it over to Derek, who's going to give us a talk on getting started with Chocolatey.
Okay, can everybody hear me? We good?
I can hear you just fine.
Excellent. All right, share out my desktop here and run the presentation. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so Chocolatey, a Windows package manager. First off, thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate it. This is going to be my first web presentation, so I ask you to bear with me if I'm jumping around between things a little bit. I'm used to being in person, so we'll give this a shot, see how it goes. So a little bit of background about me. I'm the infrastructure architect over at Swift Capital. We're developing some new infrastructure for web-based, cash-advanced, and other types of finance systems for small, medium companies. I'm working with the DevOps teams to help support them a little bit with some automation technology, monitoring, all that good stuff. In general, I'm a technology enthusiast, whether it's PowerShell, .NET, Arduino, networking. I pretty much do a little bit of everything. Technology is my thing, and so is camping. That picture is my wife and I over at Yellowstone, actually, the Grand Prismatic Spring. If you haven't been over there, highly recommend it. It's gorgeous. Not this time of year, though. Their snowstorms make ours look like a joke. And I'm also the package manager for FreeSSHD, GPG for Win, Salt Minion, Log Rotate, and I think one or two others. Basically what that means is I do the code changes necessary to update those versions when they come out at this point. There's really not a lot to it. It's not as glamorous as it sounds. So with that, we're going to move on into Chocolatey itself. Are you sick of finding the correct URLs for your favorite software, manually downloading commonly used software, clicking through all those pesky installers and doing it over and over and over and over? I know I sure as hell was. My last job, I was working for I was working with 150 servers, and we would probably onboard 4 to 5 a week, and they didn't have any automation before I got there. And then I found Chocolatey, and it made my life a lot easier, because now you don't have to. It's really easy, and it actually lives up to all the hype about it. So what is Chocolatey? Chocolatey is a Windows package manager in the vein of APT and RPM. It's based on Nuget, so I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Nuget, but it is a library and dependency manager, kind of like Ruby gems or Python pips, I think they are. Same general type of technology. It was written in PowerShell. I'm not 100% sure if that's true anymore. With this new revision, they rewrote the whole thing. So that one, not 100% sure on anymore. But it's basically object-based shell scripting with full access to .NET, WMI, and all things Windows. So in a nutshell, Chocolatey is awesome. How do you get it? It's actually very, very easy. Open up an administrative command prompt or an administrative PowerShell prompt and run one of these two commands. Both of these are at the Chocolatey website, chocolatey.org. And what this will do is it will go out there, download the installer, and install it and update your path accordingly. And that's actually all there is to it. I have not had this fail except for on one very secured system where I don't think it allowed PowerShell execution at all. The top option here actually sets the execution policy to unrestricted for this session to do the install, so that's something to be aware of. I believe remote signed also works. So, starting simple. Everyone uses Notepad++. Very easy way to install it. And once you've installed Chocolatey, cinst Notepad++. That's it. Goes out, downloads the package, installs it, you're good to go. Git and source tree at the same time. You can do cinst git source tree, and that will run through and grab both of them and install them both at once. And the really nice thing about Chocolatey is if Git is updated or source tree is updated or Notepad is updated, all you have to do is cup git or Chocolatey update star, and it will update every package on your system that is managed by Chocolatey. So you can imagine how nice this can be if you have all of your software wrapped up in Chocolatey packages. You need to push an update out to, 50 systems or 100 systems. You can just run the Chocolatey update star command, in a PowerShell for each for all of your servers, and there you go. Finding a package works very similarly to running in apt, for example, you do Choco search, and it will let you search the online repositories, whatever sources are available. You can also list out everything from a particular source. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. But in this example, it'll use the web platform as a source and list out everything that you can install through the web platform. But personally, I prefer the online gallery. Chocolatey.org is very user-friendly, allows for much better searching, supports wildcards, all that kind of thing. So I definitely prefer the gallery. Chocolatey also supports XML Manifests. This was released, I believe, in the previous version. This lets you just do very simple XML to define what packages you want, what version, where the source might be, and then you can just run cinst or Chocolatey install with the package config as a parameter, and it will actually go through and make sure that all of those packages at those version levels are installed on your system. This is also very similar to Nuget, where you have manifest files essentially for your source code, which will let you do the same type of thing. So you saw the sources command. Well, Chocolatey basically wraps a bunch of other systems. So it wraps Ruby. You can install gems with source Ruby. You can use the Microsoft Web Platform with source Web PI. Cygwin supports source Cygwin, and Python source Python. You can even build your own Nuget repositories and host your own packages privately. So if you have your own internal web server, you can host your packages in there. I believe there is a Chocolatey package called Chocolatey Server. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know that there is source code to build your own Chocolatey or Nuget gallery for Visual Studio. So you can just run that, compile it, and you're good to go. There are also commercial repositories available, which have a little bit of additional security, usernames and passwords and all that. But you can also just use a network share. So you can keep all of your packages in a network share and point your source to that, and it acts as a Chocolatey feed, or as a Nuget feed, I should say. This is where the integration basically with OneGet comes in. OneGet is the new Windows 10 package manager, and it was actually based on Chocolatey. What that lets you do is install software from a trusted Windows repository, or the PowerShell Gallery, for example, and it does it in a nice central manner. You can use OneGet to install Chocolatey packages by specifying source Chocolatey. Functions the exact same way. So what you'll probably end up seeing is more and more companies, this is all theory at this point, but you're going to see some companies start coming up with their own repositories, and that's going to be their way of distributing software so that it's integrated right into the OS, just like it is with Linux, for example. So Chocolatey is very powerful, it's very flexible, and it's all around very cool tech. If you're not excited yet, there's about 2,632 packages in the main Chocolatey feed yesterday, with 12,000 packages total. So those are basically different versions of those unique packages. There's a very active developer base. There's commercial support coming via a freemium model, and it will be baked into Windows 10 as OneGet. And all of that will continue to be, or at least all of the baseline functionality will continue to be free. So that's, I believe, the basics. So we're going to start going through on how to actually build your own package. Actually, let's see. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Is there a way to do questions easily here through Link?
Do you have access to chat? I guess.
Let me see. Chat. Yes, I do. So no questions so far, it looks like.
For anybody who's joined us that has audio, I just unmuted you guys. I'm not sure if you have the ability to unmute yourselves, but if you have questions, feel free to shout them out. I guess not.
All right. In that case, we'll go back into the presentation, and it used to be a little bit tricky. There used to be a few steps to installing or to creating a package. You used to have to go in, install Warmup, which was a templating engine, install Nuget itself, but we're going to skip all of that now. The new version of Chocolatey that just came out, what was it, 2 days ago, has the ability to do Choco New, and that will actually let you make your own package. And then we got to, of course, have something, we have to find something that's missing from the repository if we're going to push it to the actual main repo. So what I used for this demo was Office 2003 Web Components, which my old company used to use extensively. Thankfully, the new one doesn't touch it. But basically, we'll go in and we'll start doing a little bit of chocolatey goodness here. So let's just make sure quickly that we have the latest version of Notepad++. It's one of my favorite tools there. Oh, right. The new version, you have to pass it -y to let it know that you actually want to do an upgrade. Oh, it is at the latest version. Whoops, I misread that. So we're good to go with that. If we want to pick, say, another application to install, just to give you guys a quick idea of how it actually works. Come on. The Chocolatey Gallery that I was talking about is chocolatey.org. It's pretty much any other type of Nuget gallery. You have a list of all of the packages that are available here. You search them very easily here, and if you want to see what's newly uploaded, you can hop in and say, hey, look, Super Benchmarker. All right, well, why not? Let's take a look at that and see what all that does. This is a administrative PowerShell window. So you can see it's going to let you know that you are accepting the license agreements. And that was how quick it is. It's done. This is the command line utility, so there's no executable. But you can see that we've got that tool now available to us. And that's really all there is to Chocolatey at its simplest. It's just a nice command wrapper. Lets you go in and do these installs and manage and update them accordingly. Now, let's see here.
Cool. Derek, we have a question from somebody in the chat.
Oh, yes.
The question is there an offline capability or installer if the provider or the Chocolatey server is unavailable?
Yes. So as I said before, you can use the -source attribute to point to a local directory or network share. And you can pre-download your packages by going over here and clicking on the download link itself. So this will let you download whichever version is the current version. So that's the way you would handle that scenario. That's also the way if you only want to approve certain particular versions of software for distribution, you can maintain your own internal authorized repository with these manually downloaded items in there, and that will let you do some troubleshooting, make sure that everything works properly before you allow upgrades. So that's definitely something that you can do.
Cool.
All right. So we're going to take a look here. Let's go into the projects folder. All right, so I'm just going to create, you see I had a test package listed in here. I'm going to delete that for right now. And of course it's in use, so I can't delete it. Close out of here quickly. I was running through the presentation earlier and forgot to close out of some of this. There we go. All right. So what we're going to do from the window here is we're going to change into that directory. And we're going to do Choco New, and we're going to call this Office 2003 Web Components. And we can pass in some additional parameters if we want. We can do version, which will let us put in whatever version it is. And we'll just leave it at that for now. There's a couple of other options. If you want to see what they are, you just use -H. What this just did was create the Office 2003 Web Components directory and create your base framework for how you handle, or the base framework necessary for a Chocolatey package. If we go back over here, you'll see our Office 2003 Web Components directory now exists. And click in there and take a look. You'll see there's a new spec, which is the same new spec that you would use with Nuget itself. And under Tools, you have a Chocolatey install and a Chocolatey uninstall PowerShell script. We'll take a look at those in a minute. I want to start with the new spec file here. So we'll open that up with Notepad++. Take a quick peek here. You can see it's just straight XML. Language XML. There we go. And all of this was done for us automatically by that Chocolatey new command. You have a package ID, which has to be all lowercase. You're going to have the title, put in spaces and everything else. This is what will actually appear in the gallery. You want to leave the install flag on there because that indicates that this is actually an install package. There are also this concept of meta packages, which is an empty package that just has dependencies like these listed for other packages. So you could say have your Derek's desktop package, which just links out to all of, or has dependencies on rather, all of the packages that you use on a regular basis. Then if you lose your computer or if you need to set up a new one, you would just do Chocolatey install Derek's desktop, and it would install all of the dependent packages automatically. The package that we're working on here is an installer. It will actually install web components, so that's why it's called an install package. That's just a convention. You can find out more about them by going to the documentation on chocolatey.org itself. The authors are the authors of the software itself, in this case, Microsoft. The owners would be the owners of the package, so this would be my name in this instance. Summary is going to be the summary blurb that shows up on chocolatey.org, so that's actually this text right here. So we want to make sure that that's accurate, spell checked, and all of that. Since we're not actually going to push this package, I'm just going to put in description, nice and generic. Or sorry, this is the summary. And then the description would be more details. So this is where you might give usage examples or links to other areas, that kind of thing. The project URL is actually the website where this package is hosted, or sometimes where the actual software itself can be downloaded from, depending. So since this is Microsoft, I wouldn't necessarily link to the package. I would link to my own GitHub repo, which is where this package information is. So I maintain all of this stuff usually in GitHub itself. This is one of those where you have to be careful, though, what exactly the distribution rights are for a given package. Microsoft allows you to distribute this stuff internally, so for an internal package, this is all fine. Tags would just be space-separated list. Whatever you want to put in here for easy searching and filtering, you can do. The copyright, if you know one exists, and then the URL, or a link rather, to the copyright itself or to the license. You can actually mandate whether the license should be is accepted or not. That's what controls when you do the install, whether that message shows up saying that you request this, you accept the license or not. You almost always want this to be true. The icon URL is actually where the icon for it would be. That controls the icon that's displayed over here. The project link would be this one. The license would be this one. Maintainers and everything else, these are for your actual account on the gallery. And download, this is something not related to NewSpec itself. This is the gallery, again, giving you access to download. Dependencies is where you would list out the package IDs of all of the other packages that this is dependent on, along with the version necessary for it. And you've got a spot for all of your release notes as well. If you're distributing additional files with this, other than just the tools, like you have some custom scripts or installers that don't go in the tools directory, you would list them out here just so that the installer is aware of it. And that's basically what a new spec file is. There's nothing more to it. There's no magic or anything like that. So we'll save that down, save those changes in, so we should be good to go with this very, very rudimentary package. We'll go back to our directory and take a look at the install file now. And I'm just going to do this in Notepad again. Now, note this first line. Please remove any commented lines to tidy this up prior to releasing the package. You see a lot of people who leave this stuff all in there, and it makes it messy, it makes it more difficult to read and everything else. The important thing to note here is that this is the file that is called by Chocolatey when you first type choco inst or Chocolatey install. This is considered good formatting and everything else. You declare what the package name is. A registry key to uninstall the package. I don't actually know what this is. This is brand new and undocumented right now. So you're going to have to wait for better documentation to come out, or you can hop onto the Chocolatey Google group to get some information on that. Right now, there isn't much on it. So the installer type, whether it's an XE, an MSI, or an MSU, the URL is just quite very simply the link to what you're going to be installing. So in this case, we're going to hop out, take a look for Office Web Components. And you can see here's the add-in from Microsoft. And we'll go in and download and grab the manual link. So that then goes in here. A 32-bit only app, I believe. So the 64-bit URL would be the same thing as the 32-bit URL. So we just make that equal to URL. And the silent args. So this is where you're going to have to find out what the silent installation option is for whatever package you're installing. Some would require answer files, which you'd have to figure out a way to generate. And some, as is the case with this package, is just a matter of /s for silent. Keeps things very simple, thankfully. Sometimes you need to go and dig to find this information, and sometimes installers don't work the way you hope they do. One of my packages, I forget which one, but it has major issues when you try to do an upgrade. So that's an example of one where the silent install works, but the silent uninstall doesn't work. So there's not really much that you can do about that, aside from opening up a bug with the person who maintains that software and work with them to come up to a solution. Valid exit codes are exactly what it sounds like. Sometimes the installer's custom installer will exit successfully, even though it has a weird exit code, so you want to make sure to put that in. And then this, I honestly don't even know what it's for. This is another new one. So we're just going to leave that one in there, assuming that it's necessary for now. Moving on down, we're going to see this is the actual command that's going to, this is the Chocolatey Helper that is going to use these variables and actually do the grunt work. You can see that there's basically three different types. There's install Chocolatey package, which will install an executable, an MSI, or an MSU. There's another option called Chocolatey zip package, which will take the zip file that's downloaded and install it into the tools directory. So this is a way of just distributing, for example, PuTTY, which is an SSH agent and client. And all that is a bunch of executables in a zip file, and it gets installed into the tools directory this way. Oh, there we go. That's where the tools directory comes from. And then VisX packages would be for Visual Studio again. So since we're not really using any of those for our package, we're going to just go in and delete that. We're going to use the install Chocolatey Helper, and we're passing it the package name, letting it know what exactly we're installing. We're giving it the installer type, and we're passing in the silent args and telling it where to download from. Now you can see that there's a lot of additional arguments that are available, and all of these are documented on the Chocolatey GitHub page. So you can put in checksumming to make sure that everything is accurate. There's many, many more options than you have right here too. There's also additional helper functions if you wanted to write your own, for example. So you don't have to use install Chocolatey package. If you have some custom software that needs to be installed in a particular manner, you can write your own PowerShell script here to do that installation. So we're going to get rid of all of this. Any of that in there. And you can see there's even more helper package or helper modules available here. You can tell it just to download a file and where you want to download it to. You can tell it to, this is just another Chocolatey install package option. You can tell it to just unzip a file and not actually install it in any location. It's using toolsdir as an example, but all this is doing is just extracting a zip file someplace. So you could use this to copy your data someplace else. You can ensure that Chocolatey is running as admin by running this. So there's a lot of these options that are available, which I would recommend that you take a look at because it gives you tremendous flexibility in what you want to do. Chocolatey also has the concept of portable files. So this would be like installing something that does not need to be in program files and can just be copied, so a USB key, for example. But we really don't need any of that for this particular option, for this particular package, I should say. And this is also part of the portable example, which we don't want anything to do with right now. So we're going to take this out. And we'll let it stop on all errors. And there we go. So that's basically what a Chocolatey installer looks like. We'll save that up. Now, you also want to go in and edit the uninstall script. This is, if there's one problem with Chocolatey, it's that a lot of packages don't have good uninstallers. I find that 9 times out of 10, people just upgrade. They don't really do the uninstall. So this is one where you're going to have to get very particular for whatever your package is. I'm not going to do this right now because I honestly don't know what the uninstall option is for Office Web Components. So we're just going to leave this as is and hope that it will call the relevant uninstaller with the silent flag and that everything will be okay. This probably does work about 8 times out of 10, but just giving you a heads up, this is one of the areas where Chocolatey is a little bit lacking. It doesn't enforce that quality level on the packages that are available. So you want to keep an eye out for that if uninstalling is important to you. So those are all the key files that we needed. There's the new spec and everything else, so we're all saved. So we go back here to the projects directory. We'll go into the Office Web Components, and we'll do Choco Pack, and we'll give it the name of the file. What this will do is actually create, oh, well, there you go. It's letting you know that the license is required because we we said that we need to accept that. So we're going to need to go back into the Web Components new spec and put this as false, and then hopefully we'll be good to go. Otherwise, we may need to put in a dummy URL for right now. Let's try it again. Nope. So we're going to need to put in a dummy URL. I'm just going to put in for right now something just to get it to pass its tests. And we will go in and try it one more time. Project URL can't be empty either, huh? this is handy. It gives you good sanity checking. There's probably a way to bypass this, to be honest. There often is in Chocolatey, but it tries to enforce best practices, on the packages. So it's best to try and have it do that where you can. All right, so the sanity check's all passed, and it successfully created the package Office 2003 Web Components version 0.1. If you want to take a look at what that actually means, here's your Nuget package. The nice thing about Nuget packages is that they're just zip files. So you can just go in and extract, and hey, look at that. There's some additional XML. There's some additional files for the package, and some additional files, basically. And that's it. So that's what a Nuget package actually is, and it's all just based on your configuration. Now, what do we do with this? Well, the next thing that you got to do is test it. So we can use that source attribute and say choco install Office 2003 Web Components -source, and then we'll tell it basically that the current working directory is where we want to install it from. So you could also specify in server 1 / whatever the path is going to be. It gives you a lot of flexibility around there. So we'll run this right now. Well, that's interesting. Okay, that might be something that was changed in the new version. Let me see here. Make sure that I got the command right first. Oh, all of this is available, by the way, at my OneDrive share, so I'll send that out later on. No, they must have changed it because this used to be the command for it. All right, well, let's take a look and see if we can figure out why this is happening. The nice thing is that we've basically been following this script, which is their walkthrough, creating packages. So let's see what they say here. Okay, so there looks like there's a new designator -f to actually let it know that it's going to be the local file. This upgrade most recently, by the way, was a breaking change upgrade, so you need to be aware of that. We might actually need to specify the name this time. No, that's very strange. All right, I apologize, folks. I thought this would.
Derek, instead of %CD %, should you use $PWD?
Give that a shot. And also, this is showing that it needs to be in backticks as well, so we'll give that a shot and see. And we'll also take out the ./ here. Yeah, it should be working fine. Odd. Like I said, this did install some. This most recent update did actually break some things. Install. We're giving it the package name correctly. Interesting. Why is it looking in? No, that's correct. All right. You'll have to take my word for it that usually this works. because the package built successfully and everything. All right. I'll take a quick peek here. -S. Yeah, and -F is just telling it to force, so we actually wouldn't need that. It would normally prompt it for it. All right, I'll give this one more shot, this time with the Office web components. Let's see. Couldn't find it, of course. Of course. And still failing. All right, well, we're not going to waste our time here right now. I'll have to take a look and see. This should not have been a breaking change. I'm not sure what's going on here. With the previous versions, basically this command would work, and it would do an install of the package locally from the current working directory. Clearly that's not happening now, so we'll have to take a look and see why. I'll call up Fervent Encoder and see what's going on there. But once this is done, you would then go and do your push. So once you've done all of your testing, you're verified that everything is working, you would do a cpush, and you would give it your package. And when you hit enter, this would actually go out and upload it to the Chocolatey Gallery itself. That would actually go in via an API key that you have to set from your accounts, and would do the installation or the upload in. The process then is that the package will be reviewed by a moderator. It will be available, but it will be considered pre-release. So you have to enter the -pre flag to do installations of pre-release software or software that hasn't been moderated. Once it's been moderated, once they make sure that the package meets their standards, which is not a security check, don't confuse it with that. It basically means that the package conforms to their guidelines, that it works, and it's to make sure that you're not distributing software that maybe you shouldn't be. For example, Photoshop. That's what this process is. It gives a little bit of added security that you know, so that you know that it's at least been reviewed to some degree. Once it's approved, it'll be listed with the green flag here, and then somebody can just go in and say, Choco, install whatever your package is, Office 2003 Web Components, and it will do the install accordingly. And that's basically the process end to end. Again, we were following this process here, which is listed on the Chocolatey documentation, the package quick start. So if you have any other questions or you want to see what helper functions exist, you can hop in here and actually see all of the different things that are available. We were using new here. We ran pack to actually package everything up. API key is what you would run to set the API for your gallery so that you can upload from the console. And then push is the command that you use to actually upload everything as needed. So that's basically the presentation in a nutshell. If you have any additional questions, feel free to join the community, groups.google.com. It's the Chocolatey Google group. You can look at private packages and private repos by taking a look at the Nuget gallery. And I do encourage everybody to get Chocolatey because this is very cool technology when it works. And it has made my life a lot easier, and I know it'll help out for anybody who needs to do large-scale deployments of software on a regular basis. So with that, I'll probably keep poking at this to try and figure out what's going on. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer what I can.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. Just waiting to see if anybody posts any questions up for you. So question is, in the Windows Management Framework 5 preview, OneGet is included as part of that, and it uses Chocolatey as a repository. And so the question is, what are the main differences between, I guess, using Chocolatey, native Chocolatey, and Chocolatey through OneGet?
So OneGet is very much based on Chocolatey. The command syntax and everything should be the same. It gives you a little bit of added functionality, I believe, and the default gallery is going to be a different gallery. It will be a much more secured one, but everything right now is in preview. So if you go to the PS gallery, for example, they have a warning label right up there. It says this is a pre-release edition. So they don't have all the bugs worked out in terms of their process for validating files. The idea is that when they release it with OneGet, things are going to be more secure. There's going to be less option or less worry that the package was just maintained by some random guy like me, and that it was actually rubber stamped by Microsoft. That's basically the main difference. It uses the same backend. It uses Nuget, and Nuget's service API that lets an application like this just connect out and get information on packages and install packages appropriately. It works exactly the same way in that regard, and that's how you can specify source Chocolatey and have it use Chocolatey packages as a result.
So then, I guess, would it be correct to say that OneGet would be like essentially the platform or API where Chocolatey is a provider or plugs into OneGet as a resource or something like that? So you could have multiple providers or multiple repositories that you could point to.
Right. So now that's the case. Before Microsoft came out with OneGet, Chocolatey was the game in town, and they saw Chocolatey and copied it. So it is all the same technology in the background, just with Microsoft's seal of approval. It's the package manager that Microsoft was waiting for, so they adopted it.
Okay. So then we also have in the preview PowerShell Get, right? And that is for PowerShell artifacts or modules or DSC resources, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that works in concert with OneGet. So you would basically, or is that a whole separate
wrapper for OneGet, isn't it?
Yeah. So you have like a bunch of commandlets that are specific to, like, I think it gives you the ability to do find module. Mm-hmm. And then you can, basically it goes out to the gallery looking for using PowerShell Get through OneGet to show you the list of available modules that are publicly published.
Yep.
And then you could also give that like your own internal, module repository that you were hosting internally. And then you could also use Chocolatey, I guess, as a way to install binary applications, XEs and MSIs, what have you.
Yep. And so I think what Microsoft is doing, and I do not speak for Microsoft at all on this. This is my guess at this point, is that they're trying to segment it up a little bit so that the PowerShell commands will be more useful, or the PowerShell module commands specifically will be used for PowerShell modules only. Whereas Chocolatey right now, if you wanted to install Windows features, there was actually a DISM source that you could use as well to install Windows features. So Chocolatey was a little overreaching in that regard. It tried to be one wrapper for everything. I think that Microsoft is going to break that down a little bit and try to make things a little more componentized around their offerings, I think.
Okay, cool. And I guess just reading some of the stuff in the chat here, Chocolatey is open source, is that correct?
Yes.
And it's up on GitHub.
Yep.
And is OneGet also, I think, on GitHub?
I don't know. I am not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Microsoft's been embracing open source quite a bit.
Yep, there it is. So, Yeah, so both of these projects are available up on GitHub. Another question is, are there any guidelines or warnings that you know regarding what we can and cannot use Chocolatey for? Are demo packages allowed? I guess the guidelines being don't publish packages that you don't have a license to distribute.
Right, and generally you're not going to want to push. So there are plenty of folks out there who push demo software to Chocolatey, but it's usually designed to be installed by anyone. So if your company offered a particular kind of software and you wanted to get it out into other users' hands, and you say you gave them a 30-day free trial or something like that, that's perfectly acceptable. Chocolatey is currently used for that. But if you wanted to use it for test software, things like that, that you don't know if it works right or not, you just want your team to be able to work on it, you probably wouldn't be approved. Your package probably would not be approved for that. And that's when you'd want to run your own gallery or keep it on your own local network share or some such.
Cool. I saw an article, I think it was by Bo Prox a while back, about setting up your own Nuget feed or your own Nuget gallery. Is there documentation, just browsing through Chocolatey's wiki? Is there any information on how to set up your own internal feed?
There is. I don't believe it's actually in Chocolatey, though, unless they added that recently as well.
Oh, here it is. How to host your own feed. So, paste that in. Cool.
I know that there's plenty of information available on that, and I did put a link to it right here. There's a package called Nuget Gallery, which you can use to do that. And there are also commercial services available to assist you. I think it's My Gallery. I'm not sure the name of it. I can find that out and put that in my notes.
MyGet and ProGet.
There you go. Those are them. Those are the ones where you basically pay a small monthly fee and you can stash your packages in there, and they allow you then to either protect them if you want to make it private or have them publicly accessible, I believe, as well as an option.
Awesome.
Let's take a look here. All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's it, Derek. Thanks so much for your time and for presenting on Chocolatey tonight. It was a really, really good presentation. Thank you.
No problem. And apologies again for the odd errors here. I'm going to have to dig into this and see what exactly is going on. It's irritating when it doesn't work the way it should.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, my apologies for talking for 5 minutes without realizing I was muted.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. If anybody has any questions, we're going to post up, we'll have a blog post with a summary. We'll have a link to Derek's slides, and I guess you have the commands that you ran in the demo.
Yeah.
I'll post up the
is in there.
Cool. And I'll post up the announcements and information that we have up on GitHub, so that'll all be there, and then we'll link that in the blog post. So keep an eye out on PowerShell.org for that post. And thanks, guys.
Take care. Stay dry.
Have a great night, everybody.